Welcome. Thank you for your interest in hosting one of our Japanese exchange students. Welcome to the Host Interest Forum for the Arlington Nago Akakyo Sister City Partnership. This forum is designed so that you'll know everything you need to know before applying to be a host family. If you've been a host before, you'll notice that there are a few small changes to the role since previous years and to the application process. Whether you've been a host before or this is your first time, we'll make sure you know everything you need to know before applying to be a host family. My name is Rebecca Booth Fox. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Sister City Coordinator for the Arlington School District, coordinating the details for our guests who will be visiting us in the spring. In this recording, I'll give an overview of the program and the host responsibilities. Then I'll explain the application process. This version of the presentation is being recorded before the live forum on January 30th. So the Q&A portion is not recorded, but I'll share an email address where you can ask your questions. Finally, I'll share the link to the application form. The application is due on Thursday, February 6th, so you have a week to fill it out before the link goes live. This visit continues the rich tradition of cultural exchange between Arlington, Massachusetts and Nago Akakyo, Japan. Nago Akakyo has been Arlington's sister city for 41 years. The two communities actually had a relationship since the 1970s, but in 1984, they signed a formal sister city agreement. And in 2004, we initiated the student exchange program. So 2025 marks the 21st anniversary of our student exchange program. Each spring, students and chaperones from Nago Akakyo visit us here in Arlington. And each July, students from Arlington High School participate in the reciprocal portion of this exchange. As the Sister City Coordinator, I coordinate the first half of that exchange here in Arlington. If you have any questions about the July portion of the exchange, you can email me about those later. From April 29 to May 8, 2025, the Arlington Nago Akakyo Student Exchange Program invites staff and families to open their homes and their hearts for 10 days to host one of 18 students or chaperones visiting from our sister city. These students are goodwill ambassadors that strengthen the friendship between our two communities. In Nago Akakyo, students are selected from a pool of more than 100 applicants each year, and they receive academic credit for their visit. In preparation for their visit, the students must attend 25 study sessions. This is serious stuff for them. This year, 16 students and 2 chaperones will be visiting Arlington. Our guests will stay with volunteer host families in the community, and they'll visit our schools and experience American culture. There are quite a few benefits to being a host family. Here are a few things you can expect. First of all, hosting provides a unique chance for you to build international friendships, share traditions, and experience meaningful cultural connections. Also, you'll be part of a 41-year partnership. 41 years. Wow. What were you doing in 1984? Or if you weren't alive or can't remember 1984, what do you think your family was doing in 1984? Good vibes. Of course, you will make the lifelong dream of an international student come true. When you open your home and your heart, you offer a young international student the opportunity to discover America through your eyes. You'll also learn about a different culture, its values and traditions, language, and food. Finally, as I mentioned, each July, students from Arlington High School have an opportunity to travel to Nago Akakyo, and preference for the July 2025 trip will be given to students who have shown commitment to the program, including by serving as hosts. This is an example of a typical schedule you might expect. We'll look at this more closely later, but in general, you should know most days you'll be making sure your guest has breakfast and get them to where they need to be in the morning. And most afternoons, they'll go on a field trip and you'll pick them up from Arlington High School in the evening, have dinner, and go to bed. Over the weekend, we'll organize either a Red Sox game or a tour of Fenway. And host families are very welcome to join us at Fenway. We just ask that you buy your own ticket if you want to come. The other weekend day will be a host family day, an unscheduled day for your choice of family activities and fun with your guest. Here are some photos and quotes from last year's students. Each year, our guests write an essay after the trip, which we translate into English and share with their host family. So last year, Tamuki, a seventh grader, wrote, "The 10 days I spent in Arlington were so much fun and have become a treasured memory for me. When I first met my host family, they were so kind and I felt at ease. When I arrived at their house, they cooked a simple meal for me. They spoke English slowly so that I could understand them, even though I don't speak much English." And Haruka, an eighth grader, wrote, "On the first day, my host family welcomed me as a family member rather than a guest, saying, 'We are family, so please feel free to spend your time here as if it were your own.' When I left, they gave me a big hug and said, 'I'm going to miss my family.'" Kato, a seventh grader, wrote, "I had a lot of fun playing basketball with my host family and friends in the neighborhood. At first, I was nervous because I didn't know anything about them, but we became friends over our common topic of basketball. We were able to talk about a variety of things, not just basketball. At that time, I realized that it was possible to find common topics and become friends even in countries with different languages." It is important to us that you have a clear understanding of the host family role. When you fill out the application, you are committing to be a reliable host for those 10 days. So we want to make sure that you have clear expectations before filling out the form. Please don't feel like you need to memorize any of this right now. You don't need to take notes. Once hosts have been confirmed, we'll share a host guide with all this information and more. But basically, we want you to know there's 4 basic pieces to the role, and I'll speak a little bit to each of these. So, providing transportation, providing basic needs, fostering cultural humility, and communication. So for transportation, host families are responsible for providing daily transportation for their guests to and from specified meeting locations in Arlington. We've heard from some past hosts families that the hardest part of the role for them was the pressure of getting to places on time. So we're working to make this expectation really clear from the get-go. Mostly it will just be getting them to school on time and picking them up from Arlington High School in the evening. Most school days, they'll visit a different school each day, and we'll take them from there on a field trip in the afternoon. Well ahead of time, we'll give you a clear schedule, including which school on which day, and what that school start time is. And for all these schools, there's a choice of early drop-off at 7:30. If you have difficulty getting your guest to or from the scheduled drop-off or pickup times, you can coordinate carpooling with another host family. Another basic role is providing basic needs. As a host family, you are responsible to provide meals. For most of you, that will be breakfast and dinner each day, since all the schools have free lunch. Or if you opt into early drop-off, they can eat breakfast at school instead. Students will pay for any additional expenses. As a host family, you will be required to supply a private bedroom and a quiet place to study. You'll provide all bedding and towels for your guest. Basic needs also include providing guidance and a supportive, loving, and safe environment. Then there's the role of cultural humility. Keep in mind that this experience, as exciting and enriching as it is for our young adolescent guests, it's bound to be a culture shock. Most of our guests are nervous about how well they'll understand and be understood in English, but they can be caught by surprise by homesickness and by how other cultural differences can add up to be a bit overwhelming sometimes. As a host, you don't need to be aware of everything they might expect or might experience, but you'll want to learn a little bit about Japanese culture so you can help them acclimate. And in general, just be aware that as humans, we all tend to make assumptions about other people, about other cultures. Sometimes generalizations can be a helpful shortcut to remember information. and sometimes they can be harmful. So it's a good practice to try to become aware of when you're making an assumption and to ask a question instead to check for understanding. One aspect of Japanese culture you should know about ahead of time is that it's customary to exchange small gifts with your student. So your student will arrive with gifts for your entire family. Some host families also choose to send something back to Japan for the student's family. I'll share a few other examples of cultural differences later in this presentation. And the final part of the host role is communication with your guest and with us. So obviously communication is key to make your student feel welcome. Because of the language barrier, it will help to speak slowly and clearly. You may have to repeat yourself several times. If you pronounce each word slowly and separately, it will be easier for your guest to understand what you're saying. Some guests will bring electronic dictionaries and use the internet for help with translation. But communication is more than just words. Interact with your guest. Show them how to cook a meal, play games, take them to the grocery store. They will appreciate these cultural experiences. And we will be available support throughout the visit. I'll share my cell phone number with the hosts. I'll be available 24/7 that week in case of emergency. We'll expect you to reach out if you're ever delayed for pickup or drop off. And we are fully expecting the unexpected, and we're ready to support you with whatever comes up. So that's the basics. I'll share a little more information about specific things you can expect before and during the visit before I explain the application process. Before the visit, there's not much for you to do. We will schedule one mandatory orientation meeting in April for all host families to attend. At least one representative per family should be present for that. We'll share your guest's bio sheet with you, which includes their name, interests, age, favorite foods, and email address. You should reach out to your guest and share your family's information with them. If you like, you can invite them to chat on WhatsApp before the visit. And you'll want to learn some basic Japanese. We'll share some resources later to help with that. During the visit, I've already gone over the basics: transportation, provide basic needs, cultural humility, communication. Otherwise, it's really business as usual. We recommend that you let your guest experience daily life in an American family. It's not necessary to change your normal routine for them other than pick up and drop off. If you would normally take your kids grocery shopping, take your guests too. If you'd normally make your kids do their homework or chores or let your kids watch TV or play video games, you don't need to overthink it. Just include your guest. You can explain your house rules to them in advance via email or when they arrive. Here's that example itinerary again, so we can look at it a little more in depth. I recommend you don't screenshot this since it's just an example. Once host families are confirmed and the schedule is finalized, we'll share the precise times and details with you for everything you need to know about those 10 days. We do know our guests will arrive at Logan Airport early Tuesday evening, April 29th. Arlington Public School staff will meet them at Logan, and we'll transport them by bus to Arlington High School, where you'll meet them all. You'll meet your guest, take them to your home for dinner and a tour of their temporary home. Each morning, you'll have breakfast together and get them to where they need to be, usually to a high school, a middle school at 8:30, probably one day at an elementary school at 8. Again, there's that 7:30 option for early drop-off. There will probably be one or two exceptions to the morning drop-off time, which we'll try to let you know about by March. There might be one school day when there's a day-long field trip organized instead of a school visit. And we'll let you know what time to drop off at Arlington High School on Thursday morning, May 8th, in order to get them to Logan on time. Each afternoon, we'll bring them on a field trip, and we ask you to pick them up at Arlington High School at a specified time, probably around 5 or 6, for dinner and bedtime. As I mentioned, over the weekend, one day will be at Fenway, and the other day will be a host day. We'll lock in the Fenway plans soon, and we'll let you know so you can decide whether you want to join us or not. You can plan anything you like for your host family day. as long as it's safe and in Massachusetts. Anything you want. We'll give you some ideas later, and you'll learn about your guest interests from their bio sheet. We'll invite you to a farewell dinner Wednesday night at Arlington High School. And on Thursday morning, you'll have one final drop off at Arlington High School where a bus will be waiting to take them to Logan. So this visit will feel like a whirlwind to your guest. And there are a few things you can do that can help them acclimate. There are a few norms, a few ways of doing things that tend to be different in Japanese culture and American culture. These can be helpful for you to know about ahead of time so you can support your student as they acclimate. I'll share a few tips now so you know what to expect, but again, there's no need to memorize any of this. We'll go over it again at the orientation meeting. One kind of cultural difference to think about is food, both the types of food we eat and the norms and manners expected around our eating. Many of our guests will be excited to taste new and different foods as part of the exchange experience, and some might appreciate some familiar foods as well. You'll get to learn your guests' favorite foods ahead of time from their bio. It's helpful to know that Japanese youth are taught to eat everything on their plate. In order to be polite, if you offer something, they'll feel obliged to take it. So if you are plating food, we recommend you serve small portions and extend an offer to have more food if they're hungry. Or you might prefer to just put out some things, some eggs, cereal, toast, so they can take what they want. Your guest may be prepared to cook a Japanese meal for you and your family. You can ask them about that and coordinate together during the visit. I think that's enough about food. I hope I'm not making you too hungry. A few more cultural norms. I recently learned that most people in Japan use comforters, not blankets. So making a bed with top sheets is uncommon in Japan. So when you give your student a tour of your home and their bedroom, make sure to show them they can sleep under the sheets and covers. Also, the Japanese bathroom is very different from the US bathroom. When you give your guests the tour, show them how to use the shower, the toilet, and the lights. Most Japanese prefer to shower or bathe in the evening rather than the morning, so we suggest you ask their preference and explain how this will work within your home. In Japan, laundry is done every day, so your guests may expect to do laundry daily. You can show them how to use your machines and have a conversation about when they can use laundry. You may offer to help them with laundry, but they're prepared to do their own. Finally, as I mentioned, students come prepared with gifts for your family, but they will not present them to you until you present your gift. This is a part of their culture. They are careful to not offend. So we suggest exchanging gifts the first evening. Finally, here is the host application process. So the host application form will go live on Thursday, January 30th at 7 p.m. The link to the form is in the email where you got the recording of this presentation. The deadline to get your application in is Thursday, February 6th. We will hold a lottery on Friday the 7th and reach out to most families that day with a conditional offer. All family members over the age of 17 will be required to undergo a Cori and Sori check. So the offer is conditional on the background check. Each individual over the age of 17 has to appear in person to our offices with a picture ID for verification. And pending completion of that background check, we'll let you know when your role is confirmed. We're also seeking a couple backup host families to step in for emergencies or last minute changes. So when we email you with the conditional offer, we'll let you know whether we're assigning you a student right away or whether we're asking you to be a backup this year. If you have any questions after the live forum about the hosting or about the application process, please email me at sistercity@arlington.k12.ma.us. And finally, to apply to be a host, you can grab this QR code on your phone or click the link to the form in the email where you got the recording to this presentation. Thank you again for your enthusiasm and your support in fostering the international connections for the Arlington community. I look forward to meeting you soon.